Hey y'all, and welcome back to Old Iron Talk. I'm your host Callie, and today we are talking with our special guest Nick. He is going to share with us a little bit about his family's history in collecting the tractors that they have and some of the local memorabilia items that he has an interest in collecting as well. But before we get started, we know we're a little behind on this podcast. Life happens. We're going to try and keep doing every 2 weeks. But we do hope you guys continue to come back and join us for the podcast. We appreciate all of our listeners and everybody that tunes in. I know the last podcast we had, we mentioned the C.H. Wendell book that we have for sale on our website. We have a couple different C.H. Wendell books for sale actually, but we told you that each week we would share a little excerpt from the book so you can kind of know what's in it if you might have an interest in purchasing it. This week we're going to be highlighting the Ball Engine Company from Erie, Pennsylvania. The Ball Engine Company had a long career in steam engine business. Our research has not yet determined the company's origins in the steam shovel business, but it is thought to have been in the early 1900s. This Erie shovel of 1916 was set on 4 heavy iron wheels, 2 of which could propel the machine as it advanced into the cut. The other choice was the locomotive trucks, but they required the setting of ties and tracks as the machine moved forward. Obviously, there was a lot of work that went into maintaining all of these machines, but I could not even imagine having to move ties and tracks to move the one along. So that is just a quick glimpse into some things that are featured in this book. Again, each week we'll kind of feature a little different aspect of it. There's a lot about engines, steam shovels, trucks, all different kinds of machines, sawmills that are in this book that C.H. Wendell wrote. So if you have an interest in purchasing it, make sure you go to our website, oldirongarage.com, and it is in our shop section. Now we are going to get to chatting with Mick. We hope you enjoy this episode of Old Iron Talk. So we're here with Mick today, and he's been collecting kind of his whole life. So he's going to share with us a little bit about that, what he's been collecting, what he's interested in, and what he might want in the future. So Mick, can you kind of tell everybody a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and what kind of items you're into?
My name's Mick. I'm 20 years old. I'm from Whitehall, Illinois. I was always been into tractors, memorabilia, always been into cars and trucks. I know ever since I was little, I've always wanted to just hear stuff run. It just always made me smile to
Mm-hmm.
hear stuff. I've collected memorabilia like paperwork. I got a lot of paperwork, oil cans, signage, coins, a little bit of everything from, it doesn't matter if it's tractor world or car world. I got it all.
Okay. How did you get into collecting? Is this something your dad also did? Was your grandpa into it, or what kind of led you and gave you the oh my gosh, interest to start collecting?
Uh, well, dad always collected toys,
Okay.
and not really anybody in my family collected memorabilia and stuff. My grandpa, he hung up signs his whole life, had a sign business, so I kind of got a couple of those signs whenever he passed away and we're cleaning out his sheds. I brought those home and I kind of added to those signs, and I found oil cans here and there, got into that. I had a really good friend who was a good friend of Roger's too, and we always collected together. We went to church together. So,
Okay.
Sunday you come to church, hey, look what I got this week. It may only been a matchbook, but a matchbook turns into, filing cabinets of paperwork.
Mm-hmm. That it does. So what kind of signs did your grandpa put up then?
He had Wearco is mainly what he did.
Okay.
But he did like Hardy signs. All the signs in Jacksonville, Illinois, is
Mm-hmm.
what he did. But he also did for like Topps Big Boy.
Okay.
So I got a few stuff from both of those places.
That's awesome. So are you a brand specific family or will you collect anything?
Myself personally, I collect mostly Wearco and Quaker State. I like Quaker State. For some reason, I got into Quaker State and I always kept with it. That's not many people you see collecting that.
Mm-mm.
Werco's because Grandpa put up the signs. I got a couple signs from him, and then I've added on to that just finding more stuff that says Werco or from Jacksonville.
Okay. Very cool. What was the first item you bought yourself? Do you remember?
Uh, that would probably oil cans if I had to guess.
Okay, and what kind of oil cans?
Just be quart cans from Quaker State.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so you said you collect memorabilia as well. What kind of memorabilia do you have?
For one of my biggest collections of that would be from Molten Implement in
Okay.
Whitehall. I have their license plates. I got a bunch of paperwork from them from John Deere days. I got the like stickers and stuff that went on the side of equipment,
Mm-hmm.
pictures from there, old receipts dating back to the early 30s. Uh, I collect a lot of stuff for towns, like for Whitehall. I probably have a fair biggest collection of Whitehall out of anybody around me.
I know Roger really likes to collect things locally. Are you kind of the same with that? Do you try to collect things that are local to you?
I do like a lot of local stuff,
Okay.
especially advertisements.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. Where do you have the most luck finding local stuff?
Well, got most of my local stuff from he recently passed, but a guy was good friends with. He had a lot of local stuff, and me and him would do some trading for that. But I have found a lot at local auctions. You find them at yard
Mhm.
sales a lot of times. Uh, but you'd be surprised how far away you can find stuff
Yeah,
in stores.
I agree with that. It is crazy sometimes. You never know. Things definitely travel. It'd be cool if sometimes these items that you find and buy could tell the stories themselves because they definitely go all over the place. Okay, I know you mentioned too that you had a motor that you recently just redid. Did you rebuild it? What was it? What's it for? What were you doing with that?
I had it's a 1938 John Deere Model E, 1.5 horsepower hit and miss motor.
Okay.
I, which those would be used for like anything pumping water,
Mm-hmm.
different stuff like that back in this day. I found it. Got it from a guy locally. It had been sitting in his barn, and it had been sold, and I found it after he sold it and got it from another individual.
Okay.
We I took it home, and it was locked up. It hadn't moved in we don't know how many years. I took it all apart, stripped it down to nuts and bolts. I rebuilt the magneto myself, did all the wiring. I rebuilt the igniter. I stripped the paint off of it. I ended up having to get like a new head for it, put new valves in it, all new
Mm-hmm.
gaskets through the whole motor. Uh, then I repainted this motor myself and actually hand painted the logos back on it.
Oh, that's awesome.
So put new runners and found wheels and stuff for it to put it all back together.
Okay. So do you go to shows like during the year at all? Is that something you would want to take to like a tractor and engine show, or do you have an interest in those?
I try to go to a lot of those, but with
Mm-hmm.
me where I work at, I work for Sloan Implement.
Mm-hmm.
So we're busy in the spring, we're busy in
Yeah.
the so kind of hard to go to a fall show, but
I would imagine so.
I try to make it work the best I can.
Okay. So I know you said you're currently in school and then you work at Sloan. So what are you going to school for?
I go to Lakeland College in Mattoon for a John Deere Tech,
Okay.
and I'm getting ready to graduate here in May.
That's exciting.
That's where I'm here right now at school, actually in between classes.
Okay. So do you plan to go back to Sloan when you graduate, or what do you want to do?
I'll be at Sloan's probably as long as I know.
Well, good. Okay. So, in addition to that motor, I know you mentioned too that you guys have a 36 Farmall F20. Can you give us the story behind that? How did you get it? Where did it come from? And what have you done to it?
I well, the F-20 is one of I got seven tractors in the shed.
Okay.
Most of them were dad's. They always had those.
Okay. So, after our momentary break, we were trying to talk about your 36 Farmall F20 that you guys have. Can you, I would say, essentially start over and tell us where did you guys get this tractor? What's the story behind it? And what have you done with it?
Well, the F-20 is one of seven tractors that we have, but the F-20 is the one that I have bought personally myself, and I drug it home out of the shed and been sitting for a little over 60 years. Motor was stuck. I needed tires. She was in pretty sad shape. Uh, I've got the motor unstuck now. I rebuilt the magneto on it myself. I've kind of done all the cosmetic stuff inside the engine to get it back to running. Right now I've just got the tires put back on it. Uh, I'm putting the drive line back together now. Hopefully get the radiator finished up and being able to drive it here in the next couple weeks or so.
That's awesome. Are you going to do anything to it, like cosmetically wise? Are you going to paint it or anything, or do you prefer them in their like original work clothes?
This one I'm debating yet. I want to paint it, but yet I also like them in their work clothes.
I get that. It's a tough decision to make sometimes. So when you get this one running, do you want to try and maybe someday take it to shows with you?
Yeah, I'll probably end up taking it to shows, but I also got my other seven. Sometimes I take them to shows also with me.
Okay. What's your favorite show you've ever been to?
Uh, Besides Ram Tool, I mean, everybody knows how big that show is.
Mm-hmm.
Probably be there's in Altima, Illinois,
Mm-hmm.
and last the G reunion. That was
Mm-hmm.
pretty cool to go see.
I bet that would be cool.
Oh, the other one I go to is in Jacksonville, Illinois,
Okay.
at Prairie Land.
Have you ever been to Classic Green?
I have.
That's a good show. I would recommend that if you've never been, because that one's a fun one to go to. What's like your dream show? Do you have one on your bucket list that you would like to attend that you've never been able to?
I would really like to go to Canada one day to steam engine shows, since I know they have a lot less regulations to be able to run some of the old bigger ones.
That's a good dream. Hopefully someday you can go up there. Okay, so I know you mentioned as well that there's a tractor that you've had in your family for the tractor's entire life, and it's something that was gifted to you when you were 6. What is that tractor, and can you tell us a little bit about it?
It's a 1951 VAC case.
Okay.
It was bought in Florissant, Missouri. It's still an original paint. It was a narrow front tractor. I have since then made it a wide front tractor. Just for laughs, I put duals on the tractor.
Okay, that's awesome. So yeah, I assume you probably plan to keep that one in the family for a while.
Yes,
I would imagine so. Okay, so you said you have 7 tractors in total right now, is that correct?
yes.
And do you have a dream tractor that you would want to add one day, or do you already own that tractor?
I probably have a couple. One that I'd like to get next would probably be a John Deere L.
Okay,
I've always had a thing for tractors, and I I really like the L's.
that's fair. They're nice little utility type tractors, so I don't blame you. That would be a good one to try and achieve. You said you had a couple. What's the other one on your bucket list?
Well, I probably be an Oliver,
Okay.
as I like, but it'd have to be on steel.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair. Okay. Now you are pretty young to be already in the collecting hobby and a part of it. What's advice you would give to somebody your age or even younger that might have an interest in getting started in the hobby?
Getting started, well, it might be harder for some people, but I'd say definitely putting down the video game or putting down your phone and going outside and doing that. But I do think that a lot of it comes from the parent because, for instance, me, uh, instead of getting a video game, I got a motor to work on, or for instance, that tractor. I got
Mm-hmm.
it. I'd go outside and I'd tinker, figure out how to get it started. Uh, just going outside and pedaling with stuff, whether it just be your bicycle. You
I
riding
agree.
your bicycle, you might find on the street that has motors or works on his car or something, and you could get
Mm-hmm.
into at least turning wrenches that way.
No, I agree. I think that is good advice. Okay, so I know you're into signs and memorabilia some too. What is something in your bucket list maybe that you might want to add someday, memorabilia or signage wise?
That's a hard question. Uh, I do like a lot of advertisement stuff, so
Okay.
it would be neat to have advertisement from, say, everything from your town,
Okay.
which is nowadays kind of impossible.
hmm Do you have a favorite era of tractor? Like, do you prefer, say, the pre-30s? Do you prefer 30s to the 40s? What, do you have a preference on what kind of tractor or era?
I'd say anything from 30s to late 60s.
Okay. So if you ever had an interest or an eye for like muscle type tractors, would you ever want to add anything like that to your collection?
I'd probably do that.
Okay.
But as of now, I'd say you call it a muscle tractor. We have a 806 International.
Oh, do you? That's awesome. That is very cool. So what are the other seven tractors you have in the shed besides the ones
We
we've
have
already?
to name them all, so don't forget any. We have the Farmall F20. We have International 806. I have a Farmall A. We have the VAC case. Have a John Deere B. I have a Montgomery Ward's twin row, and a I have a Heckendorn lawnmower.
Okay.
But also I have a Massey Ferguson 65 Dieselmatic.
Okay. Very cool. And have you guys done work on all of those, or are some of them how you got them?
Most most of them, yes. One of them is painted when we bought it.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. Well, Mick, we're kind of running short here on time. Is there anything else you'd want to share with us that you've collected? Any tricks or trades you've learned along the way from people that you kind of want to let everybody know about?
I kind of touched on my first truck earlier that
Mm-hmm.
I got when I was a kid. That being, it's a 1965 Ford F100.
That's awesome.
Uh, it's all original paint. I
Very
drove that
cool.
to high school. It's a 3 speed on the column. I went and had the doors, and actually, my girlfriend did this. Painted the bed, painted the doors to says casing or Ford tractor implement
Oh,
from
that's
Whitehall,
cool.
Illinois, and the bed says part sales. So I made it into an old service truck.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's kind of a little memorabilia piece I can drive around.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's really cool that you have that. Well, we do want to thank you for coming on today, and we appreciate hearing about your collection. And like I said, it's always nice to see some younger people in the hobby getting interested in collecting and sharing what they're learning along the way with others too. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Again, we would like to thank you all for listening and remind you that you can find all the source material for our episodes on our website, oldirongarage.com. We encourage everyone to join us on Old Iron Garage and connect with other collectors. Thank you, Mick, for joining us today. We really enjoyed learning about your collection and what items you might want to add to it in the future. You can submit your collection photos to info@oldirongarage.com to be featured at the end of our episodes. If you would like to join us on a future episode of Old Iron Talk, you can also reach us via info@oldirongarage.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.